Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Turnaround Marriage Live. We are Scott and Rachel, and we do help committed Christian couples finally end the cycles of conflict and disconnection and reclaim the love, passion, and playfulness that they once had. It's our joy and honor to do that as a way to build the kingdom. And today we're going to be talking about out of nowhere, we have marriage problems. I have heard this about 3 times in the last 3 days with couples that I've spoken to.
I hear it all the time.
If in your marriage, things have been okay for a while, and all of a sudden things seem like they have just erupted, just fallen apart overnight. And all of a sudden your partner says they're done. Things are just a mess. This is for you. Yeah. If it feels like the stuff came out of left field and it's like, where did this come from? This Turnaround Marriage Live is for you.
Absolutely. And so, guys, whether you're checking us out on YouTube or Facebook, we want to make sure that you like and subscribe. And so that way you're getting the content, especially on YouTube. If you like and subscribe there, share those videos. We appreciate that greatly. Also on Facebook, when you search Turnaround Marriage, you're going to find us. And if you're seeing us on Facebook right now, make sure that you like our coaching page, but also make sure you join our group. We've got about 1,600 people in there, and we provide lots of encouragement, support, as well as resourcing in there too. So we want to make sure you're part of all those communities.
Yes, we do. So picture this, y'all. Picture a sweet couple. They fall in love. They get married. They have very different upbringings. Maybe it's their first marriage. Maybe it's for one of them, it's their second marriage. Maybe they're trying to do a blended family. Maybe it's just, 2 regular Christians getting married. They meet, they fall in love, they start doing life. And because you were raised differently, or because you have different values or different expectations of what a marriage should look like, when you discuss certain topics, it's like those hot button topics where all of a sudden conflict erupts. And whether it's you can't talk about money, maybe it's you can't talk about your spiritual values, or what church you want to go to, or how much time you should be spending apart doing things with your friends, and what's the right amount of us time and me time, and right. Or could be how we spend our time, how much ministry are we doing versus fun, or it could even be just about how we're going to raise our kids, or our philosophy about how we spend our money, or whatever it is. There's certain hot topics that maybe come up, and you just have completely different viewpoints, and you come at each other, and there's a lot of conflict around that. And so you've just learned to keep your mouth shut about it. Yeah. And so it's like in your mind, you're probably saying, oh, we can't talk about that without getting into a fight. I hate conflict. I don't want to confront him. Right. I don't like saying that to her. I don't want to fight. I just want the peace. So what do? We start to sweep things under the rug, and we just go, it's just better. Let's just not talk about that. We don't want to fight. Let's keep the peace. And it's 2 honorable people doing this. Right. Their hearts are in an honorable place, and they don't want to fight, and they want to have peace. But in the sweeping and the pushing things under the rug and keeping things not really on the up and up with your partner and your spouse, guess what happens?
Yeah, it's not a pretty thing. And it can, and I do think it's important to just nuance that it can look different ways in terms of what those disagreements look like, and what those disagreements erupting might look like. That could mean just like suddenly we're fighting, and like there's all kinds of arguing going on in the house. But it could also mean like, I just know that it's going to really bother him. He's going to be really uncomfortable, or it's going to be uncomfortable for me. So I don't want to go there, and I would much rather just table it. I'm frustrated underneath. I wish I could just tell him, or I wish I could, share with her my perspective, but you're not able to. So either one of those cases, whatever it looks like, if you're not engaging with those issues, this is what happens. Now you have a pile of discontentment. You are disconnected. It might have taken a number of years, or it might have been months, or even weeks for you to get to that place where you realize that, wow, like we are just worlds apart on some significant things. And what happens is, if you don't deal with it, then beyond discontentment is that you start to have bitterness towards the other person. It's like, I wish that they were strong enough for me to be able to talk to them, or I wish that they could handle it, or I wish they cared enough about me that they would listen to my perspective, or want to know what my perspective is. And that bitterness builds up there. And then there's frustration about the whole situation. And then it looks like anger. And really, this is the heart of it. what the worst part of all that is that you probably feel lonely.
Yeah.
And it's not a pretty picture. And so what has been happening, guys, is that there has literally been a pressure cooker. You know, those old pressure cookers that they just build up with energy. They build up with the pressure and then it has to release. And with that release, it's not pretty. Either you or the other person, they're suddenly wanting to talk about it. They're suddenly had it with that or with you, and they're going to suddenly start talking, everything start to come out. And then it's like a big pile of yuck at this point. And couples are like, what? How did this happen?
It's so true. You know, that the pressure builds and it's like the stuff underneath comes to the surface and it eventually comes out. And it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
How long have you felt that way? And it's honorable people 99% of the time that are doing this, that are wanting to avoid, they don't want to hurt their spouse. They don't have the tools to be able to share their true heart, their true feelings, their true thoughts with their spouse. And so by sweeping it under the rug, it turns the temperature up in that pressure cooker, brings that stuff to the surface. And eventually, as you're sweeping and sweeping and sweeping, this pile becomes so huge. And like Scott said, like you said, it's a pile of bitterness, frustration, discontentment. The pile gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you can't hide it anymore. And then suddenly you're going to say what's been bubbling and boiling. And usually it doesn't come out that nice when it's been building for that long. And so, what so many couples do is they just condition themselves to just be quiet. I don't want to upset him. I don't want to fight. He's always right anyway. And we start telling these stories to ourselves. And if you've been conditioned to not speak your mind and not speak your heart, the scariest and saddest part of that is now your hearts are now disconnected.
Right.
It can feel okay because you're getting along, you're not fighting until you are. But the feeling okay, there's always a lack of intimacy, whether it's an emotional intimacy gap or a spiritual gap or a sexual or physical gap. There's going to be a gap in closeness because if you are sweeping, you cannot be close because it's honestly in the rub and in the being able to share truly and honestly and vulnerably with your spouse that the connection is built, and it's navigating that stuff. And if you guys don't have the skills to be able to do that and understand how the opposite sex how they think and feel, how they are operating differently than you, understanding how to communicate at a heart level without being disrespectful and unloving, and by using the right body language. If you don't have that skill set, that stuff is going to sweep and pile until one day you're going to go, what happened? Here we are, and I'm getting served divorce papers, or he had an affair, or she's been texting another guy. Like, how did this happen? It's because this stuff has been building for a long time, guys, and it's a dangerous place.
It is a dangerous place because the heart of the problem is a breakdown in intimacy. It is that disconnected. It's the breaking down of the connection the way God has designed it to be. And oftentimes when we talk to couples, that when things have been piling on for a long time, is they really don't have any intimacy. It's like, maybe it's all about the kids. Maybe it's like a business partnership. Maybe it's like they're doing life sort of together, but their hearts are so far apart because you can't have intimacy without being able to talk about anything. Because if you're not able to talk about anything, you really don't have a closeness. You don't really have forgiveness and grace as part of your relationship. It's much more just like, it's like a transactional. I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me that. And it's not covenantal the way God's designed it. It's not a beautiful picture of giving and taking and receiving and loving each other in the midst of even disagreements, and loving each other when you see things differently, because God gave to every family a man and woman, and you're not the same. A man sees things differently, and he's going to bring to the table what leadership in the home should look like, what guiding the kids should look like. And the woman's going to have a very nuanced, different perspective on what it means to parent. And both are needed. And so you have to navigate these things. Otherwise, the whole family isn't even operating together the way that it should. And so we're not even talking about breaking down an intimacy about just sex. We're talking about the real connection that marriage is supposed to be. And oh, by the way, we are also talking about sex. If you are not close in heart, if you feel like they don't care about your heart, if you feel like it's just a transactional business thing, there might be sex involved, but it's very much like on the I guess I have to place, much more than an enjoyable gift the way God's designed this to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, guys, many of you are out there, and this is where it even gets worse, is that many of you feel like, I have been trying. I have been trying to share with them and open up my heart to them, but it's just getting shut down. And they don't understand, why is the other person upset? I'm the one that's been trying to open it up. But the reality is probably both of you have not. Probably both of you, because you're honorable people, you've been trying to take the quote unquote high road and to avoid the conflict, avoid the fighting. And it's like, okay, where I'm going to go there. And so what begins to happen is oftentimes we see this, that one person starts to feel superior about over the other person because I didn't want to fight. They did. I didn't, they're the one that finally the pressure cook blew off for them. And now they're coming to attack me. And so obviously they can't control their emotions very well. I'm just the innocent party here. This is the rubber meets the road, guys. Many of you out there listening to this need to hear this word. This is what is going on in your marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so good, Scott. So good. And even intimacy and sex itself can be the topic of conflict, where it's like,
yes,
I'm not used to being the one to initiate. I don't know why she always, why does she never say yes? And why does he always want it? Or the opposite, it can be true. And then you can feel like, what's wrong with me? And am I not pretty enough? And it's all that, or I don't like that. And why does he make me do that? And all this kind of thing. And it's like, if you can't talk about the things that you enjoy, what you like, what you don't like, how that makes you feel and all that stuff, if you can't have those open, honest, vulnerable conversations, sex itself can be the thing that you're fighting about. And so then sex becomes the thing you don't do. And
right.
Again, it's that disconnect at a heart level, at a soul level, at a body level, at a mind level, where it's like now you're just like two people doing life, and you might share a bank account, and you might share a schedule or whatever, but it's like, and then all of a sudden an affair pops up, or like I mentioned, it could be any of those things. And so guys, if the pressure cooker hasn't exploded yet, we're telling you, if you've been sweeping things under the rug, things will come to a head. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if. So this is our not warning, but just this is us imploring you to say, please, 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 you guys need to reach out and get help before things totally fall apart, because sometimes you can wait too long. Sometimes your spouse really, really, really can be totally done and have their mind made up. Sometimes it's not too late, even if they say that. But why wait? If you're seeing the warning signs and you're saying, gosh, we've been sweeping, we hate to fight, and so we don't know how to do this. This is when you want to reach out for help. And the smart people will reach out before it's totally fallen apart. The proactive ones are going to be the ones that say, I'm committed, I'm decisive, I'm going to take action because there's too much at stake. And I don't want to end up like the person that I know at church, or that one on my neighborhood, or that friend or that cousin, or whoever it is that's their marriage is falling apart. Odds are against you, guys. More than half of your marriages will fail. Odds are against you. So you've got to take action. You've got to be proactive about this.
You're so right. And it's not uncommon from what we see for couples not to have been sexually intimate for months and months, sometimes years, even decades.
It's heartbreaking to hear.
It is heartbreaking
the
because
sexless marriages.
This is not the way God designed it.
No.
It is a gift, but it is also, it's some ways is the solution, but it's also the leading indicator of the lack of intimacy in your heart. And if it's months and months, guys, this is alarm bells going off that things are not the way they should be. And so many of you out there are listening to us this evening, and you're realizing, man, we have got to do things different than the way we've been doing it. And maybe tonight, guys, is that time that you have that heart to heart and just say, we have really built up a lot of animosity towards each other. There's been a lot of disconnect, and we've got to do things different than the way that we have, because we can't keep going this way. And tonight might be that night of repentance. It might be that night where you guys just finally lay some of your cards on the table and just share where you're really at, and really seek the Lord, and really, bring to the table that we've got to do things the different way, that there has to be a different path forward, and it can't be the way that we've been doing it. and we need to bring some different tools into the equation than the way we've been operating together.
Yeah.
And so there's many different tools out there. One of the great ones we would encourage you to check out is our free masterclass. What the 5 simple shifts that couples make to get a quick turnaround in their marriage. And we've had a number of people say that this masterclass alone helped them massively in their marriage. And so you can find that at turnaroundmarriage.com/class. And check that out. We know it's going to be really helpful and maybe the best 45 minutes you've invested in your marriage.
Yeah. And, for others of you, you realize, you recognize the warning signs are there. The pile of what's been swept under the rug is large, and the volume, the temperature has been cranked up on the pressure cooker, and things are starting to feel like, gosh, we've got to get this fixed before it's too late. We've got to do things different. We're ready for change. Let's get some help. For you, we want to offer you a breakthrough call. And that's, you can go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. You can reach out and book a call. It's a complimentary call. On that call, we will give you massive value and clarity and help you to uncover what is going on in the marriage, what's working and what's not working, but really, what do you hope and pray that it could be? What tools do you need? What's the gap? And we'll help you create a strategy to get there. And so if that's you, go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call. We are here to serve you. We are here to implore you. There were years that we did not talk about things. There were years of discontentment, disconnection, frustration, and all this stuff. And it's like, we got to get this handled. And since we have, and since we figured out the way forward and done the work, we have a path forward. We can show you how.
Yes.
Okay. So don't hesitate to reach out. There's too much at risk with your family. All of that. So our hearts are for you. Okay. Our hearts are to build the kingdom by helping rescue Christian families and marriages. And so you can go to turnaroundmarriage.com/call to book that call. And again, until next time, we want to wish you hope and health for your Christian marriage.
Absolutely. There is hope. There is healing for you, for your marriage. God